Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Ask Alan Anything, where we talk about book marketing and publishing. Today's episode is going to be talking about a few items: email lists, social media, book festivals, um, download cards, are just a few. Well, they're pretty much all of the show. So, as a reminder, you're welcome to send us questions ahead of time. You can send them to bourgeoismedia@outlook.com. We'll have that email address throughout the show popping up on the screen, so definitely feel free to use it. So let's jump right into email list. An author should begin to collect emails from interested readers the minute the author begins working on their manuscript. Now, you kind of wonder why. Well, you want to bring the interested parties along with the journey. This helps build interest and excitement for what you're doing so that ultimately when you get to the end, you can actually have some book sales. So starting right off the bat is good in many ways. So once you collect the emails, stay engaged. This is the key option here. Send out a notice at least once a month updating the reader to the progress of the book. Sometimes you can do more, sometimes, well, no, you can never do less than one. You've always got to do at least one a month. So keep them interested, keep them engaged. To get a reader to give you the email address, always ask via your website or in person when you're doing events. A sign-up sheet is good to have available at your event. If you do a book festival or some other kind of event, having that on the table, easy access is good. You can use an iPad or some other electronic device, which is really good to have. It catches it right off the bat, and you don't have the email addresses staring at anybody who walks up to the table. So you're keeping that privacy, that confidentially cut down or more secure by having it on an iPad. However, whatever electronic device you use, please make sure it's secured to your desk, table, whatever it is you're at, so that it doesn't walk away by accident, okay? Now, you can give someone something away in exchange for getting their email address. For people who currently have a book already done, and maybe this is the third or fourth book they're getting ready to do, offer a free ebook of the first book. You can do this as a high value item because you're giving them something in exchange for them giving you something of value, which an email address is valuable to them. They really don't want to be getting a whole bunch of junk email, so that's another reason why you want to give them something in exchange for that. If you're unable to do an ebook because this is your first book, then consider something else that can be of value to them. Maybe a sample chapter from the book or something of that nature. You definitely want to give something in exchange for something in that respect. They need to feel like they're getting value for spending time with you and helping you through that process. So an ebook, if you already have a previous book, or a sample chapter from a new book, if this is your first one, are good things to give away. The concept of a fair exchange happens when asking for an email. Just getting on your list to get emails from you when the reader is already receiving more emails than they probably want is really not a fair exchange. And that's true. I mean, you get emails all the time. You really don't want to get more emails if they have no value to you. So be creative and open to suggestions on how to get their email address. Look at other authors, what they're doing, other concepts, and things like that. Always want to make sure it's a fair exchange. By getting a reader's email, this works on two levels. First, and most important, it keeps you on track. It is a driving force that can help you move forward with the writing of the manuscript. In other words, if you know every month you have to give an update on the progress, that forces you to write. Hopefully that forces you to write more so that when you do give that update, you can have something of value to say, hey, I was able to accomplish 3 chapters this month, or I decided to go a different route for this particular reason. Whatever it is, you're keeping them engaged, you're keeping them wanting to know more about what's happening. And so by having that once a month commitment, at least, then you're keeping them somewhat engaged. But ideally, if you can do it more than once a month, you want to, but don't do it no less than once a month, okay? So you're keeping them you're keeping committed with them and also with your writing, okay? At the same time, it also gives you a chance to work with writer's block. And this is something that happens to us all. By communicating with your readers of the success and struggle you may have with writing the book, you can be open and give the readers or ask for their ideas and their concepts, especially when you hit those blocks. It's like, what is the block? And if you're talking about the block and what brought you to the block, then the readers have a chance to respond and say, you know, I may have done this myself and this worked for me, or when I was in your position, I tried this. You know, so be open, have that line of communication open. It works well, it keeps them engaged, and it keeps them a part of the process. And that brings value to them when it is time to buy the book. This latter part bridges the gap of being connected with the book and the author. Again, it makes them involved, okay? Readers do love to hear from the author they like and their progress. This is important. Again, it keeps them engaged. They even love having the author ask for suggestions or guidance. Again, like I said, if you run into a writer's block, or if you're not sure of character's name, or you need a location and you can't come up with a good location, put that information out there to your followers, your readers, so that they can become involved. Finally, by having the line of communication open, it allows the readers to keep up to date with their email address and encourages them to share the information with other readers, thus opening up opportunities to find new readers for your book. In other words, by communicating with the readers and by having them engaged in some way, and if they like what they're seeing and hearing and reading, they will want to share it with other readers, other people. That opens up the possibility of more followers. So by encouraging them, to even share the information or share the newsletter, share the blog, or whatever it is you're putting out there, then that gives them that opportunity to share, which means that people hopefully will be signing up and getting more email addresses, more popularity, more interest, et cetera, et cetera. This will come into play in the social media aspect. All right, so remember, you want to make sure you give something in exchange. Don't force it. If you get a forced email, chances are it's going to be a bad email. Or if you happen to get a good email and they still feel forced, that they had no option but to give it and they didn't get anything in exchange, they'll automatically block you when you do start sending them stuff. So keep that in mind. Watch that. Again, that engagement is important. That fair exchange of something for something keeps that validity of a good email address valuable. Okay? All right, social media accounts. This is a must-have. It is, today's communication world, unfortunately, it is a must-have. We'll talk about the different types. And with social media, it's really clear that you don't have to be listed on every single one of them that's out there, okay? At one time, we counted over 300 social media types of systems, okay? And to be listed on all of those is just totally crazy and insane. There's no need for it. You need to focus in on key factors, and we'll talk about that here. So let's talk about the top 5 social media accounts that you can consider, okay, as the most important ones out of the 300 that exist. Facebook, of course. This is mostly for your baby boomers, okay? They love to use this more than anybody else, but there is a lot of different age groups, so don't necessarily shut it down if you're not going after the baby boomers as your target market. Keep that as a consideration, okay? Twitter. This is for age groups 30 to 50. They seem to love this more and stuff. And you need to be careful of the followers and the type of stuff you have out there. You need to screen everyone who wants to follow you. And don't forget to use the mute. If you want them to be following you and you don't want to offend them, definitely use the mute if they put something out there that is not really what you want that group of followers to see, okay? And I'm thinking of nudity as a good example. You may not want to see someone's junk if that's not who you are for that particular account, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? This applies for all social media accounts, okay? So, it doesn't matter which one you end up with, always look at that as an aspect, okay? Instagram. And this is definitely for the under 30 group. The I don't want to say slackers, so forgive me for using that word, but the younger generation, again, under 30, that love to post things about what they're eating, what they're doing, their adventures, and all that type of stuff. Pinterest, same type of thing. These are for the people who love imagery. Again, it's pretty much open for any age mix, but again, it's also about the imagery more than anything else. Keep that in mind, okay? And then you have LinkedIn, which is more of a business-oriented type of program. You don't necessarily have to be on there unless your book is something related to writing. Then you may want to consider that, or business-oriented. Nonfiction books are really good for that. Business growth books, self-help books, things of that nature. That's a really good audience for. But at the same time, don't necessarily shut yourself out of it. I have close to 30,000 followers through all my social media, but most of them are actually on LinkedIn because of the business services I offer, like this program. So that's a logical assumption to be on there. But I do have lots of other social media accounts out there as well for different things. There are tons of other social media systems, and while they exist, it doesn't mean you have to join them immediately, especially the new ones that pop up. Sometimes it's good to watch what the progress is. Sometimes it's good to jump on real quick if you see it's in that target market that you are wanting to go for. You have to consider each one carefully and how it relates to your life and what your books are about and the genre, the target market, again, of what you're trying to go for. How do you describe your readers, and what type of readers do you want? Do they fit in those social media accounts that we talked about or other ones that we haven't talked about? Based on the answers, you can determine the best social media account to use, okay? So again, what is your target market? We've talked about this before in other episodes. You need to understand the market you're going for, the limited market, not, I want everyone to buy my book, because that's just not reality. You have to look at who reads your type of books and then go for that market, okay? Is it a certain age? Is it a certain sex? Is it a certain mentality? Is it a certain business? All those things, again, have to play into it. You have to look at those things and how it applies to you and your book, okay? With each new generation, a new social media system comes along and becomes popular. So again, how does it apply to your book? Is that the target market you're looking for? Okay, you need to be careful on what you say and how you use it, okay? Just like in any conversation, stay away from politics, stay away from religion, okay? While you have the right to speak your mind, by speaking your mind, you may lose business, okay? And a lot of people say, well, if they don't believe in what I believe and I don't want their business. Well, you know what? There may be a lot of people who love your books, but because of your politics or your religion and the way you talk about them may offend them. It may be even someone in that same group. For example, let's use Republicans. If you're a Republican, you talk about Republican politics. And depending on how you're talking about it, you may offend people in that Republican group. You'll definitely probably offend people in the Democratic or Independent or whatever. So again, what's important for your social media accounts, okay? If you want a social media account that's specifically for your book, stay away from the politics and religion, okay? If you have a social media account that's purely for you, then you're free to talk about anything and everything, but keep the two separate, okay? This is critical. I've seen it happen time and time again. People will say things about their politics and religion that offends people, and they lose that, and that means they lose business. You don't see businesses talking about that, okay? Because they don't want to lose the income. You have to think of it in that term, okay? Yes, as a human being, and as an American, if you are an American watching this, you have the freedom of speech. If you live in the Western world, you have the freedom of speech. But if you are from a country that is limited, you have to be careful, okay? You don't want to put yourself in a position that loses customers, loses potential book sales, while at the same time walking that fine line of freedom of speech, okay? Again, if you have a personal account that's purely personal, only your friends, your close friends and associates follow you on that account, feel free to talk up a storm. I don't say you can't have freedom of speech. Okay, just be wise in how you use it. Okay, with everything you put out there on your social media account, all the little postings and notes and all that fun stuff, make sure that you have a link to your website or to the topic you're talking about. Okay, the link about your sample chapter or whatever. Always link back to your website, because that's the website that's going to be promoting your sales. Okay, do not promote your sales on your social media account. In other words, by that I mean, don't say buy my book. Okay, that just turns people off. Okay, you've been building hopefully a relationship with your readers and stuff, and yes, they will ultimately buy your book, most likely, if they're really connected with you. So, ultimately they know to go to the website, or if they click on the link, they know it goes to the website. They can see on the website that you're getting ready for the release. You're doing pre-orders. You're getting excited about the release coming up, and you're wanting people to be aware of it. All that stuff is appropriate on the website. On the social media, whatever engagement you have been doing, which we'll talk about in a couple of cases here, that's what you want to do. Always provide the link then back to your website, especially on the social media for people who aren't following on the emails. That's a perfect link to have on that social media, is to sign up for the email account and become part of the family. Okay. In previous shows and talks that I've done, I've mentioned different ways of using the social media account and using the characters that you're writing about to talk on your behalf. Okay, this doesn't mean that what you have the character say is a representation of who you are. What it's saying is that you're using the characters to get people interested in who you are or what your story is about. Okay, a prime example is if you write a crime detective novel or a mystery novel, allow the murderer to talk about the murder they just did. Okay, it may not be in the book, but it's something that you can put out there and to have a conversation started. Okay, why did they do it? What was their thought? How did they feel about it? Was it good? Okay, and for nonfiction people, you can do the same thing, because you do have certain characters that you're talking about in those things, whether it be real people or not, that you can then have them discuss. In 1492, as I was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean on my way to discover the Americas, I was thinking of this, or I felt this, or I may have wanted to do this. Again, having characters in nonfiction as well as fiction books talking gains interest in your story, involves them. At the same time, you can have your heroes talk about, they're on the hunt for the murderer, and they were so close, but something happened, or got distracted, or what they thought was going to work didn't work. Again, that engagement, that interest. You have short conversations on Twitter or any of the social media accounts that you can use to get people engaged in what you're doing. So use them. Use your characters. Okay, use imageries. Okay, if you happen to choose a location of where a murder is going to happen, use the picture of that location. Okay, there are other types of ways of doing it, all with the basic same concept of that engagement. Okay, we talked about the personal comments. But again, be careful of what you say. One of the neat trends that are out there I've seen on Twitter and other programs is that authors or people from the writing community will ask questions of fellow writers, fellow authors. Example is, how many writers have submitted to agents? How many authors recommend going through agents? How many authors recommend self-publishing over traditional? Just allow your imagination to go with those questions and that interaction. Feel free to do so. It can work against you at the same time. So just look at the kind of conversations you have and the type of engagement you want to have. Try to do a follow-up engagement as well once you get those answers. Hey, did you know that 80% of the people who responded don't use agents, and this is why? Or if you are of that 80%, why don't you want to use agents? Give me some ideas. Give me some concept. Let me know. Let me understand your thoughts and stuff. Okay. Again, it's all about engagement. Okay? All right, so another thing about marketing is the book festival system. Okay, there are a lot of book festivals, well over 1,000 book festivals across the country throughout the year. My organization puts on different book festivals around Texas, and we're expanding to other states. We also go to other book festivals in other states as well, whether it be libraries or just book festivals or whatever. These are great ways to meet readers. Okay, even if your book is not ready, these are great ways to begin getting more email addresses, more attention about the book that's coming out. Okay, so don't wait until your book's out to be at these things. Look at the cost, but because chances are you're going to lose money at doing these events, but in the long run, you'll make the money because you're getting the word out there. Look at people who are doing goodie bags. Okay, for example, our group at the Texas Book Festival, we do 1,000 goodie bags, and anyone can put a goodie bag in there for $35. So it could be a bookmark, it could be a postcard, it could be a giveaway, anything they want to do. They can send us 1,000 of them, pay us $35, which covers our cost of stuffing them and covers the cost of the bags. And then we distribute those bags out to that 1,000 people of the 30,000 people that attend. So those 1,000 people will go through the bag. If they find something of interest, they're going to check it out. Most likely go to Amazon, unless their website's on there or another bookstore website's on there, whatever, and find out more about the person, the book, whatever. Okay, so don't hesitate to use those, especially if you can't afford to go to some events. And Texas Book Festival, the Miami Book Festival, the LA Book Festival, Chicago, the New York, they're very expensive. So you may not be able to afford it. So team up with other authors to create those goodie bags, or team up with other authors to share a booth. Do those things that help in that respect. But also don't forget about other opportunities. You have the holiday sales where a lot of hobbyists will get together to sell their items. Afghans, planners, bird homes, all those types of things are available in different ways to be out there and promote your book, find the readers. Okay, they actually work better than book festivals only because you're not competing against a whole bunch of other authors. So while at a book festival you may have lots of authors, don't discourage yourself from being there, because your conversation with those authors can help you find other ways of marketing your book, or can connect you to other ways of looking at how to market your book, or radio shows, or promotional items, or anything. So those book festivals, and the smaller, more inexpensive ones, can be great gold mines for communication and sharing ideas with fellow authors. I personally see that more successful than book sales. But when books are being sold at those events, that's icing on the cake and becomes more valuable for the author in the long run. But in reference to the hobby shows or the holiday shows or anything like that, again, you're not competing against a lot of authors, so your chances of selling a lot more books is greater. So definitely consider those. And again, if your book is not ready, look at how to market yourself and to promote your upcoming book. Start the pre-sale concept, okay? In reference to your book not being ready, you don't really want to do a book festival or some type of event if you don't have the cover done. So as you're going through that editing process and you've got that book cover done, and if you're not sure about that, look at one of our previous episodes recently that we did about that process. You want to have that book cover done so you can create your marketing material. Marketing materials include your bookmarks, business cards, posters, signs, banners, tablecloths, anything that will help promote your book. Draw people to your table to want to learn more about your book. Okay, the book cover is really a critical item. So definitely watch one of our previous shows about that. Okay, those are good things to have when you're getting ready to start promoting the festival, or excuse me, promoting your book at a book festival and stuff, even though it's not ready. It's a great way to start getting people signing up. It's a great way to look at having that sample chapter available in exchange for that email address, okay? Most importantly, when you're doing these events, And when you're doing anything, whether you're at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, at an association meeting for your work or whatever, do you have your elevator pitch? Okay. So what's an elevator pitch? Real quickly, an elevator pitch is 30 seconds or less about your book. To the point, to the fact, not a long, drawn-out statement of what you're writing about, okay? Short, sweet, and simple. You want to get their interest. You want to leave it to where they're asking a question about the book or about you. Allow that conversation to begin because that elevator pitch was interesting enough that they want to ask a question. That starts that conversation. From the conversation, of course, you are sharing information back and forth. It's not a one-sided conversation. It's a back and forth conversation. Excuse me. And therefore, you are having that engaged conversation going on, and you're sharing information. You're sharing about the process of writing, about being an author, about getting the book published, about the book, okay? While you're listening to what they're saying and asking them questions at the same time. Then that's the opportunity to give them a business card so that they can sign up for your email list, or vice versa. Or if you happen to have download cards, you could possibly sell them an ebook right there on the spot, okay? So those are the things you want to do, is have good marketing materials so the book cover is ready. You have the business cards available or download cards available, because when you're doing your elevator pitch, even at book festivals, you're short and sweet, getting their interest. You can move on to the topic and get into further conversation. If they're not interested in after that 30-second elevator pitch, was it a good elevator pitch? Or were they just not interested in your book because of the genre? They may not. And don't be offended by that. Okay, they're not interested, they're not interested. That's another reason why that 30-second pitch is so good, because if they don't get that interest, then don't be offended. You did that 30 seconds, you wasted 30 seconds, and you didn't waste 5 minutes. Okay? Short, sweet, and simple. You got them, you hooked them, and you continue the conversation from that point on if they're interested. Okay? We have on the online campus for authors, marketingguild.com, 2 sessions about elevator pitches, 2 videos on there, so definitely check them out. It's well worth it. He's a great instructor in reference to that. So it has the initial, what is the elevator pitch conversation and how to create one, and then a more advanced class as well. So you can go to campus.authorsmarketingguild.com and check them out, okay? All right, so download cards. I mentioned that briefly here, so let's talk about that, okay? If your book is not physically published, hopefully it's ready as an ebook, so you can always start promoting it that way. Or you can use the download cards for your free sample, or you can get their email address and just email them the free sample chapter as a PDF, EPUB, Kindle, Mobi version, whatever. A lot of companies, publishing companies, don't offer download cards. Even Amazon doesn't offer that, which is really surprising. But there are companies like indielector.store. They do have download cards. They charge $1 per card for the author to purchase them, but then the author can then give them away or sell them for whatever price they want. And when they do, that's their money. The reason for a download card, especially at a book festival or any festival event that you go to, is that when people ask, well, is the book available as an ebook? And you respond, well, yes, it is. They respond, great, I'll go home and I'll buy it on Amazon and I'll download it there. Chances are they're not going to. They'll forget. You know, that's most of them. They'll forget. Even if you've given them a business card with the book cover on it, they'll still tend to forget to do it. So with a download card, you have that opportunity right then and there to sell that ebook, whether it's a Kindle Mobi version or whether it's an EPUB version. You can sell it and make the money right there. You don't lose that opportunity for a sale, okay? And good download card will have a copy, a picture of your book, a link. That's a secure link that only works that one time, so that they can't keep downloading other people's books in the system or whatever. It can be very expensive. You can sell the card for $3, $4, $5. You can give it away for free, whatever. But it's a great tool to have available to you, and it should be used more often by authors and sadly it's not. So definitely look into your publishing house if they have one. Look into indielector.store, sign up with them if you want to. They pay really good royalties for the book sales, better than most stores do. So look at those options. Definitely consider the download card as a way to keep from losing sales, especially with ebook sales. Okay. All right. So the next thing then is the overall aspect. We've talked about creating an email list and how to do it. Remember to always give something in exchange for that email address, and something of value. A bookmark, a business card is not of value, okay? A free sample of a previous book that you've done, or a sample chapter to get them interested, especially if it's a new book that's getting ready to come out, that's more valuable, okay? People will be more willing to give you an email address if it's of value, okay? Remember the social media accounts. There's 5 basic social media accounts. You have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Those are the top ones, but there's also 300 others, so you have to look at which one of those or which one of the other ones is best suited for your genre, okay? Sign up and use that account on a regular basis. Remember, every time you put something out, there should be a link back to somewhere or something so people can connect to what you've got, okay? Book festivals and other type of festivals are great to do, especially before the book is coming out. Again, building that email list, building the interest, getting people excited about your book and wanting to know more about it, and hopefully having the pre-sales done so that they will help you in the long run with book sales in general. Those are great avenues to consider. And of course, when the book is done, you want it out there selling it as much as you possibly can, and getting ready to start working on your next one, getting feedback from people and stuff like that. We'll talk about more feedback in the next episode. Don't forget about download cards, okay? All of these ideas and concepts that an author needs to consider as part of their marketing plan. Marketing plan is not a simple little, well, I'm going to go out there and sell my book. Well, there's more aspects to it, and we'll be definitely talking about more of that through the next few episodes. All of our Ask Alan Anything episodes are available on YouTube, are available at the authorsmarketingguild.com website. Some of them are available as podcasts, so they're out there. Feel free to listen, feel free to watch, feel free to ask me questions. As you've seen throughout the show, we've had our email address pop up every so often. It's bourgeoismedia@outlook.com. Feel free to email me questions about marketing and publishing. We're here to help. Okay. I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope I have answered some questions about basic marketing ideas at this point. And as always, we will see you soon. Have a good one. Thank you for watching or listening to this show. Indie Lector is proud to sponsor this programming. As a thank you for listening or watching, we would like to give you a 10% coupon code that you can use on our bookstore at indielector.store. Use coupon code video19. Again, that's indielector.store, coupon code video19 for a 10% discount on any purchase. Thank you. Authors, do you know the true cost of being published? In the Author's Revolution Workbook, B.L. Bourgeois gives you hands-on tools to use and to understand the true cost of being published. He will also give you information about low-cost or free programs that are designed to help you market your book. B.L. Bourgeois has been helping hundreds of authors since 2011, educating them on how to better market and sell their books. Buy the Author's Revolution Workbook exclusively at indielector.store. Hi, this is your host, B. Alan Bourgeois. Thanks for watching Ask Alan Anything. We do appreciate you tuning in from time to time, and we are asking that if you're interested in the show and what the value it has for authors, that you help support us. We have created a Patreon page. You can go to Patreon, Patreon.com, and go to Bourgeois Media and become a sponsor. We have a lot of different options for you, free books, free credits, free whatever we can find that doesn't cost us too much, that allows us to be able to still raise money for Title I schools, getting the books into their hands, and also keeping the show up and running. So please check us out. That is patreon, patreon.com, and then look for Bourgeois Media. And I appreciate your support. Thanks.